This is the story of friends and enemies, of hunger and survival, of the unique web of interconnected life on Earth. The constant struggle to increase one's own. When we needed more food, we used our power and intelligence. This mindless use of poison was devastating. But today's story is not about killing or destroying, but about a new thought emerging from the world of science. No friends, no enemies. Soil, not a lifeless mix of rocks, stone and leaves, but a world pulsating with life. Our population in comparison is a fistful. It is in this living soil that plants take root. Plants feed not just humans, but all life on Earth. For farmers, plants are not food alone, they are livelihood.
एक पौधा उसके साथ मिलियंस एंड बिलियंस बैक्टीरिया, फंजाई, वायरसेस, नेमाटोड्स सबको साथ लेके चल रहा है. और ये जब सबको साथ लेके चल रहा है तो देयर आर नो फ्रेंड्स एंड एनिमीज.
In this web of life, there are no friends, no enemies. A fine system that has evolved over centuries. Agriculture, with a respect for this balance in nature, is what our story is about. In today's world, not just farmers and scientists, but you and I are also troubled by the presence of poisonous pesticides and chemicals in our food.
क्या है, बीमारी से सबको हैरान हो गया है ना आदमी लोग. भले कम निकले न दो, मगर बीमारी नहीं होना मांगता है, खाने वाले को भी और तैयार करने वाले को भी. ऐसा है.
केमिकल में जितना फ़ायदा होता है कहीं गुना ज़्यादा उससे नुकसान होता है हमारे एनवायरनमेंट को. मतलब डायरेक्ट और इनडायरेक्ट दोनों होते हैं.
Our markets are inundated with chemicals and medicines, but farmers continue to lose 30% or even more of their crop to disease alone.
There are toxic chemicals to prevent insect and various diseases, but over last 20-30 years, the degree of toxin in the products has increased. लेकिन आज तक हमने किसी भी डिसीज का पूरा सॉल्यूशन नहीं निकाला है.
Plants are rooted, unable to move. But are plants helpless? How do they protect themselves from their enemies? Do plants have immunity, the capacity to fight disease and pests? What is their immune system like and how does it work? Dr. Abhay Shende and his team started work on plants. His goal, to increase farm production to safeguard crops from disease.
This light is good, you can see the things. So this leaf it is too.
Work in agricultural laboratories is not easy. You induce disease, isolate the pathogen, understand it, and then look for ways to destroy it. Pathogens, bacteria, fungi, viruses or nematodes, all microscopic forms of life. their lifespans much shorter than that of plants. Pathogens evolve, mutate, and become stronger with time. A few years of research was enough to prove that instead of killing the pathogens with toxic medicines, the solution was in finding ways to make the plant stronger. The focus of work changed to disease prevention.
प्लांट को तंदुरुस्त किया जाए, जैसे हम च्यवनप्राश खाते हैं ऐसा कुछ दिया जाए जिसके को उसकी सेहत अच्छी हो.
In nature, when a pathogen reaches a plant does not remain unaware. It gears up to protect itself. Plants and pathogens communicate. They talk to each other. Their language is polysaccharides, complex sugars made by plants as well as pathogens. Till the time a pathogen is on the surface of plants, it can do no harm. The pathogen needs to enter. Break the wall of the plant. The polysaccharides of plant wall fall inside. This is the signal to plants. The enemy is gaining entry. The plant immediately responds by strengthening itself. It thickens its wall. This is the immune response based on polysaccharides.
तो उनके कुछ अंश अगर हम मॉडिफाई करते हैं और अगर वो पौधों पे छिड़कते हैं तो पौधा समझेगा कि अरे डिसीज आ गया, और डिसीज आने से पहले ही पौधा डिसीज के लिए तैयार हो जाएगा.
Research in some parts of the world had already shown that plants can identify nearly 300 different types of polysaccharides. Dr. Shende zeroed in on chitosan, known to be an important molecule in plant defense. But chitosan had a big drawback, a limitation. Chitosan is naturally insoluble in water and cannot be made into a fine powder. When it was being modified for use by scientists, it was becoming ineffective, unable to work for plant immunity. Working in labs needs not just knowledge and intelligence, but patience and persistence. Because more often than not, success follows hundreds and hundreds of failures. This laboratory tasted success. For the first time in the world, a scientist had invented a process by which chitosan would be dissolved into a more effective and potent form.
हमने ऐसी एक आविष्कार की है जिस प्रोसेस से हम काइटोसान का एक छोटा मॉडिफिकेशन करते हैं. उससे क्या होता है कि ये काइटोसान पानी में घुल सकता है. इससे भी ज़्यादा महत्वपूर्ण बात यह है, जब ये काइटोसान मॉडिफाई होता है तो उसकी जो बायोलॉजिकल एक्टिविटी है ये कम से कम 100 गुना बढ़ जाती है.
New questions emerged with this invention. Would this modified chitosan remove the pathogen from the leaf surface? Would the pathogen population decrease or become less potent? And the most important question, would there be any reaction in the plant? Will it be able to resist disease? Work began. The results were surprising. Different forms of chitosan were working in different ways on pathogens. They were able to destroy bacteria, stop the growth of fungi, and most importantly, they even induced callose formation in plants.
So this is the callose deposition around the cell wall. This fluorescent color is the callose deposition, and it takes around 1 day, or you can see the callose deposition.
Callose is important to plant defense. The plant vaccine triggered the increase of callose on leaves. And once callose increased, the plant started making certain molecules that barred the entry of pathogens. Some of the molecules were also actively destroying pathogens. Some were even sending out signals to other plants.
एक पत्ते पर भी वो सिग्नल जाए जो कि इम्यूनिटी ट्रिगर करता है, तो पूरा पौधा डिसीज रेजिस्टेंस बन सकता है, और पूरा पौधा ही नहीं, पूरा फील्ड डिसीज रेजिस्टेंस हो सकता है।
In the year 2014, BIRAC, an arm of the Department of Biotechnology, provided funds for testing this plant vaccine. Would the vaccine succeed in saving crops from disease? It was time to take the technology to farms and farmers. Junnar in Maharashtra, a 2-hour drive from Pune, the birthplace of Chhatrapati Shivaji. Like in the rest of the country, farmers in Umbraz too are troubled. The loss of 30% or more crop year after year is their worry.
जब मैं किसानों को समझाता हूँ तो उनके समझ में आता है कि हाँ भाई, हम जो कर रहे हैं वो हमारी विवशता है, लेकिन वो करने के बाद भी हम सक्सेसफुल नहीं हो रहे। एंड देन आई इंट्रोड्यूस देम about this new technology which is for prevention. So they understand what I mean, but seeing is believing.
ये दवा छोड़ने से ये पौधा जो है ना एकदम भारी तैयार हो गया, उसका पत्ता भी जाड़ा हो गया। कुछ तो परिवर्तन होना चाहिए ना, कि नहीं, नया नया आगे जाने का। इसके लिए मैं कुछ ये फिक्र नहीं किया, उसका जो होना न होने दो।
Scientists and farmers, laboratories and fields. Unless there is coordination and interaction between the two, research is futile.
आता हे बघा, पण ही गाठ लाल झाली, म्हणजे लाल झालेल्या गाठीमध्ये निमॅटोडची अंडी तयार आहेत.
Nematodes are threadworms. Some of their forms attack roots and cause grave harm. They enter the root, induce change. Some root cells turn into giants. Nematodes suck the nutrition from the plant. They lay eggs. Knots appear. Nematodes multiply, depriving the plant of water and food. The plant shrivels and dies. These are active nematodes, capable of harming the plant. And this is the result of the vaccine. The nematodes slow down and start dying within minutes.
हमारे सोच में थोड़ा परिवर्तन होने की ज़रूरत है, क्योंकि जो हम प्लांट वैक्सीनेशन की बात कर रहे हैं, ये नेचर्स मैकेनिज्म है। ये मैकेनिज्म सालों तक काम करेगा।
These are neither toxic pesticides nor chemical medicines. They are preparing a mix pulsating with life, a solution that will introduce millions of friends into the farm. Friends that will target and destroy the enemies that harm the crop.
So in the nature, one can kill only the other. It is not the chemicals. Amazing insects are there, which can control the other insects. So let us rear insects, let us rear bacteria, live towards nature.
This is a unique story of farming with a deep understanding of relationships that exist in nature. We all know that an enemy's enemy is a friend. So, nurturing a friend that targets your enemies is our story today. This is what Sita does. She sits inside a net, surrounded by insects, and works for hours. She opens a box, catches the insects flying around, and transfers them to another box.
पहले मैडम मज़ा भी लगता था, मगर करते करते अब आदत हो गया। अब नहीं, कैसा भी नहीं लगता। मैं मैडम माँ के कंपनी में अडल्ट पकड़ते, सेपरेट करते, एपीएन बनाते, फीड बनाते और गिलहरिया के खाने के लिए मैं खाना वो लोग के देते।
Galeria is wax moth, very important to the work being done in this laboratory. Work that has to be carried out in a number of systematic steps. Like any moth, Galeria begins its life as an egg. The white papers are being stuck on the boxes for egg laying. White paper squares and a cotton ball soaked in diluted honey. It is to such a box that Sita transfers the adult female moth. The adults will soon lay eggs. From the eggs will emerge the larvae. Like all larvae, the sole purpose of their life would be to eat and eat some more. A feast is laid out for these ever-hungry insects.
ये लोग के मीट बरान रहता, आटा रहता, हनी कोम रहता, हनी रहता, मिल पाउडर रहता, वो सबको मिक्स करके जैसे खस्ता के आदमी आटा सानते, उसे सान को मैं डब्बे डब्बे में डाल के उसको खाना दे देते, वो खाते।
The whole earth contains 78% is insects. In that we find only 10% bad insects. Remaining all are good insects. So let me work on this insect. This insect is going and killing other insects.
Good insects, our friends. They pollinate, keep our soils healthy, and even safeguard our crops. Bad insects are the ones that harm our crops, devouring them, causing loss and suffering to the farmers.
ये पूरी हमारी खेती ही चौपट कर देते। जो भी हम प्लांटेशन करते थे वो प्लांटेशन को ख़त्म कर देते।
सूखा बन के गिर जा रहे, इतना बनता गिर जा रहे, कुछ भी नहीं कर सके।
Insects alone destroy crop worth nearly 50,000 crore rupees every year. While India was using around 2,000 tons of chemical pesticide in the 1950s, the consumption rose steeply. By the 1990s, the farmers were pumping nearly 80,000 tons of poison into their fields. Despite the steep rise, pests and the problem remained unchanged. Poison is poison. Serve it to enemies and it will kill friends too. What if you kill enemies with the help of friends? That's biological control. In the lab, Galeria larvae have been molting and growing. These insects will now host our friends. The chosen biological control agent will breed, grow, and develop inside them. The nematode family is very diverse. Some of its members devastate our farms, but there are some that grow only inside other insects. These insect parasites multiply inside the host and then kill them. Prepared in this lab is a culture that holds millions of the chosen parasitic nematode. This is carefully sprinkled on the Galeria larvae. Within a few days, Galeria dies, its body crawling with nematodes. And these very nematodes are our friends, our living pesticides.
From each Galeria, we get around 2.5 lakhs to 3 lakhs nematodes.
Nematodes so tiny that our naked eye cannot see them. Inside of these nematodes lies another life form, a weapon for this living pesticide, a unique symbiotic bacteria. This solution has billions of nematodes. Once sprinkled on the crop, they will find its host. Nematodes seek out the larvae, feeding on the crop. Enter their body. The symbiotic bacteria now produces some powerful toxins, potent enough to kill the host. It's party time for the nematode. It lays eggs, multiplies manyfold. Nematodes spread through the farm, seeking new hosts, killing them. A unique web of life, friends safe, enemies destroyed.
जो हम कभी कल्पना भी नहीं कर सकते थे, उतना बढ़िया रिजल्ट मिला और हमारे आंखों के सामने हमने सबको मरते हुए देखा। जब इनका टारगेट इंसेक्ट खत्म हो जाता है, ये अपने आप मर जाते हैं, हमको बिना कोई तकलीफ दिए।
The technology of making EPN in the body of Galeria is well established the world over. But this technique has limitations. It is impossible to produce large quantities of EPN inside the body of Galeria. Dr. Sudha Reddy's lab was given funds by the Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. Their task is to develop a technology to make EPN, not in the body of Galeria, but in fermenters and bottles.
So we have isolated that bacteria. We are doing mass production of this bacteria, inoculating the nematodes and giving it back to the farmers.
Sustaining life in lifeless glass is challenging. There is risk of infection at every stage. Any unwanted bacteria or fungi can ruin the process. Each step needs to be taken carefully, diligently. The sample being viewed under the powerful microscope changes every few minutes. The nematodes are growing in the bottle, feeding the samples. The nematode population can be seen on the monitor. Medak is a 2-hour drive from Hyderabad. Scientists in the Krishi Vigyan Kendra are worried. The fall army worm has arrived here too. The dreaded pest is wreaking havoc across many states.
I have never seen such an aggressive pest, and which can spell disaster. So it can thrive on more than 80 crops. So this pest, it can quickly develop resistance against any pesticide that's being used. So obviously it got to be controlled naturally or biologically.
And now I found that whatever the problem is there, like a pink bollworm, army worm, grubs, which our farmers are really suffering, and this product is working wonders.
When the nation's laboratories and farmers work in unison, solutions emerge. New technologies, potent weapons, more output, less harm.
साइंटिस्ट और फार्मर दोनों हाथ मिला के साथ साथ नहीं काम करे तो कुछ भी नहीं हो सकता, ये बहुत ज़रूरी है.
Hidden in the web of life are secrets untold, secrets waiting to be discovered. The key to survival and sustenance lie in deepening our understanding. We need to keep our friends close and our enemies under control. Because in life, there are no enemies and there are no friends.